Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast, Season 2. Chad Himes, Season 2 is all about what?
Winning,
ladies and gentlemen. We've gone through a lot of topics today. As always, I'm joined with Chad Himes, but Bob Stewart's not here today because Bob Stewart can't handle the topic. When this topic comes up, he gets all bothered and he walks out of the room because he just cannot handle the pressure of what, Chad?
stress.
Oh, no. How many of you have ever been bogged down by stress and you've allowed it to affect your day, your work, your relationships, your friendships, your attitude, or your health? Did you end up with a body by Haagen-Dazs because of stress? I know I did. Dairy Queen got all my money. Ladies and gentlemen, stress is a killer of all things. Your mood, ladies and gentlemen, in the bedroom. It is the killer of your attitude at work. It's the killer of your health. Oh my gosh, Chad, what does the dictionary say the definition of stress is?
Ben, there were two definitions the dictionary had that I thought were important. The first one that comes up is pressure or tension exerted on a material object. So that's like bend a bar, put stress on it, something along those lines. But that's us too, right? We could be that material object. There could be physical stress. And then the second definition was a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances.
Chad, what's something that stresses you out?
I don't stress, and I think it's my exercise. Stressing doesn't bother me anymore. You want to ask me the question, what used to stress me out?
Sure.
Money. Money
Yeah.
was one of the things that used to stress me out until I took the Well series.
So what he's basically saying is now that money's not a problem, it no longer stresses him out. However, if it was a problem tomorrow, would it stress you out?
Probably not as much as it used to because I've learned how to handle it better. Stress used to come from money. It used to come in relationships. I was in a relationship that was very stressful.
I remember.
Yes. So I've put a lot of pieces in place. And Ben, I'm going to give a plug to another podcast here. It's the 15-point plan. And by putting those steps into place in my everyday life, I don't deal with stress on a regular basis. And it's a gift I thankfully have.
I think, Chad, for me, there's two things that have stressed me out the most in my life. One is financial problems. And whether that's big financial problems or small or even unfounded financial problems where I'm stressing about something that could happen, an economic crisis, the COVID crisis, whatever, right?
Yep.
I'm like, oh, what could happen? It worries me because so many lives depend on our companies and what we do. Money is a stressor, which is why we taught the Well series and why we're so committed to being financially secure because we don't want money to stress us out anymore.
Correct.
The second thing is relationships. Like if you go home at night and there was some conversation you had with a friend or a partner or an employee and it's unresolved, it eats at your mind, doesn't it?
It can, yes.
Yeah. Relationships can stress you out. And I'm sure that those of you listening right now, you can think of 5 or 10 other things that constantly cause you stress. But Chad, there was an American surgeon and psychiatrist named William Samuel Sadler, and he gave us a definition of stress. What was that?
Yeah, I'm glad you read his name and all of that stuff more than I had to, Ben. But I thought it was a great definition that he gave in his 1915 book, right? Been around a while. He described stress or worry as an inability to relax the attention once it had fastened itself onto a given fear.
The inability to relax the attention once it had fastened itself onto a given fear. The fear of going broke, the fear of a relationship ending, a fear of somebody not liking you, a fear of failure, right? The inability to relax the attention, and that's from his book called Worry and Nervousness, written published in 1915.
Yeah, that's a while ago now, right?
Yeah, super long.
So, Ben, I was just going to say, stress it's normal, right? Everybody out there should just accept that we all at some point in some way are going to deal with it. We're not doing this episode for you to stress. We're going to actually help you deal with stress and understand stress a little bit better, right? The body is designed to experience stress because It's going to happen, and then our body produces physical and mental responses. You see, that's what stress is. But Ben, not all stress is bad. So think about that. We talked about right off the bat, I threw the word stress at you before we started this and said, let's talk about stress with our audience because so many people are doing it. Stress can be bad. You talked about, that relationship eating at us or money worries or a job loss or something. Sometimes stress is good. Like in a danger situation, stress is going to be good because it teaches our body to flee or fight in that case, depending, right, which way it's going to be. Our pulse will quicken, we breathe faster, our muscles tense up, your brain uses more oxygen. These are indications of stress. Sometimes that can actually be good because it's going to bring survival. If you're in the woods and a bear is staring you down, you're probably experiencing stress at that moment.
I stared him right back in the eyes, Chad, and I said, "Bear, you better get out of here."
And then I run and trip you because I know I'm faster than you are, so I'll be okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to make it perfectly clear, Chad and I have not done a race. There is no actual proof. I'm pretty sure he can run further than me, but we will have to have a 50-yard sprint to see if he is actually
all right.
faster
With a bear
than me.
chasing us?
With a bear chasing us. I read something somewhere, which is good. It talks about stress. And the quote was, stress is actually the catalyst for growth.
Say it again.
Stress is actually the catalyst for growth. Here's an example. When you work out, pumping the iron,
yes,
right? And you actually create stress on your muscles,
right?
And then inside your muscles, they actually tear. And the idea is if they have some rest, they can heal back.
Correct.
And they don't just heal back equal.
Nope.
Most of the time, they heal back
bigger, stronger.
Yep. Stress isn't a bad thing. It's the lack of intermittent rest that causes stress to be overwhelming, like continuing to run on that hurt knee or whatever, till some point it actually breaks. Then there's really no coming back.
There was probably also a time in your business that your business was extremely stressed. You were going crazy, and then you had to make a hire, which then brought that growth in that exact same way.
Yeah, for sure. So stress isn't a bad thing.
Right.
Here's what we should write down. How you respond to it can be. Stress isn't a bad thing. It's actually the catalyst for growth.
Okay.
How you respond to it is what matters. And then number 2, what can you do to minimize the amount of future stress that continues to reappear in your life?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
just idiocracy, right?
You're in a stressful relationship, change the relationship. You're in a stressful financial situation, go listen to the Wealth series so that those things don't become stress to you.
So there was a study that you found.
Yep, I found 2 of them. This is the first one.
Okay.
Yep. So subjects were asked to write down their worries over a period of time during this study that was done and identify which of their imagined misfortunes did and did not happen. Okay, so they were asked to say, what are you worrying about? What are you stressing about? Write them all down. Let's see what happens. Here's the thing, Ben. 85% of what the subjects worried about never happened at all. 85% of the things never even happened.
So what you're saying is that 85% of the time that I spent worrying about something, it actually just never happened?
Never happened. Whatever you're worrying about never happened. You're worried about you were going to lose your job. You worried about that client didn't want to work with you. You're worried about your partner was going to leave. You worried about, that the weather was going to blow that big tree down beside that. Never even happened. It didn't occur at all 85% of the time.
What a gigantic freaking waste of time.
Yes.
What a gigantic waste of freaking time, Chad.
I'm going to take it farther, Ben. And with the 15% that did happen, okay, so that other 15%, 79% of it, they found out that they could handle way better than they expected or came away with a lesson that was absolutely worth learning. So they were actually thankful for the 15% of times that it did occur.
So 80% of 15, I'm not super good at math, but that's like 11?
Well, what we've had, 97% of what you worry about, stop. Because it's only 3% of the time that it's actually bad.
Whoa.
97% of the things you worry about, only 3% is bad. 85% never happens, and 79% of what does happen happens in your favor.
That's such a good thought for us to sit back and think about. How much of our lives are we simply wasting on shit that's never going to happen ever,
Ever.
that's a little goofy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word, Dave.
Goofy?
But goofy, yeah, that one.
He's a character at Disney. Goofy.
Okay.
All right, so there was study number 2.
Wait.
Going back to study number 1.
I have this exercise that I do with some of my partners.
Okay.
And I have a few of my partners in business that for whatever reason, they've become accustomed to stressing about things.
Yes.
And most of these things, I, one, tell them, Chad, are things they cannot control,
Yes.
which means stop worrying about it because you can't change it.
85% of the time.
Yeah. Or 2, it's going to be fine anyway.
Yep.
Right? So here's what I asked them to do. I want you to go down for a second. I want you to write down 5 of the worst things that happened to you last year. Just think about, like, when you think about your lowest low last year and 5 bad things that happened, just write those down. And they say, okay, I did. Great. Let me ask you a question. Of those 5 things, which of those things are actually affecting you today? Most of the time, Chad, they say none of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back and say, when you've been in this downward spiral and you're about to implode and you're falling down in this crevasse of self-pity or whatever, right?
Yep.
None of it actually matters today. Remember that Bob Newhart movie or that skit from the Bob Newhart show where it says, stop it? You guys should all look up Bob Newhart, Stop It YouTube video. It'll crack you up. Chad will put it in.
We'll put it in the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/win-make-give. Thanks for the plug opportunity there, Ben. I'll put that in the group.
Okay. Just stop it. It doesn't matter. Okay. Study number 2.
Okay. Study number 2. Another study. This one was done by Penn State. So they're really smart people over there. So, right. They asked people with a generalized anxiety disorder. They actually have a term, that's GAD. So if anybody out there has a generalized anxiety disorder, they went to go to those people who really suffer from anxiety at a high level and asked them to write down everything that they worried about for 1 month. Okay? They had to record what happened with their worries, and Penn State found in these generalized anxiety disorder personalities, 91% of the people's worries never came true. So there's just more proof, Ben. Most of the time, most of the time, I can't say 99% of the time, 100%, but most of the time, never happens or doesn't happen anywhere near as negatively as you think it's going to happen and wasn't worth worrying about.
Let's put some Win Make Give t-shirts up on in the Facebook group that say stress is a waste of time.
Stress is a waste of time.
Because that's what it is. We do need a reminder. We need wristbands and a t-shirt that simply say stress is a waste of time.
Yes.
Well, Chad, what we learned as we research stress and
Yes.
we think back in our own lives, like, how does stress physically, emotionally, or mentally affect us?
Mm-hmm.
Here's some of the things that we came up with.
Yes.
Number 1, diarrhea or constipation.
Boy, those are extremes.
That's a crappy situation.
One way and one the other way, right?
Forgetfulness. Frequent headaches or pains.
Yep.
Body aches.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of energy. Lack of focus. Sexual problems. You need that sexual healing.
For the right price, we can probably sell a blue pill on this.
For sure.
Call. Yeah.
Insert sponsored ad for Viagra. Stiff jaw, stiff neck.
Mm-hmm.
Tiredness.
Yep.
Trouble sleeping or sleeping too much. Upset stomach. Excess alcohol consumption. Excess drugs consumption. Weight loss or weight gain. Excessive consumption of ice cream, Dairy Queen, Ben & Jerry's, frozen yogurts, Haagen-Dazs. Ladies and gentlemen, t-shirt number 2, stress makes you chubby.
Or unless we get the extreme weight loss that comes with it.
I've never been blessed with that stress.
No.
But
Ben,
I would
there's
welcome
a chair
that.
in the grocery store freezer section waiting for you to sit and decide which one you want.
We should do a scientific study to figure out which stress positively affects metabolism, and I will stress myself out all day long. Here's the deal. You don't feel good. It makes you not look good.
Yep.
You don't have energy. You can't think right. You lost all your smarts, right? You end up like Bob Stewart, We get to bust on Bob because he's not here right now. So we get to say whatever we want. He probably doesn't even listen to this podcast. So we can say whatever we want because we know none of you will tell him that we were trash talking Mr. Constipated, Forgetfulness, Headache, lack of energy.
Careful.
No idea about his sexual problems.
Do we need a t-shirt that says "We won't tell Bob"?
Oh, yeah.
Also in the
That's
Facebook
the third
group?
t-shirt. We don't tell Bob. Don't tell Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, stress is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So how do we combat like frickin' Rambo, Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Wesley Snipes in Passenger 57? How do we combat?
One of his best.
How do we combat stress?
Well, Ben, I would think stress is about Chuck Norris, right? I mean, that's how it would go. All right. Few ways that you can combat stress. And I'm going to give you the easiest way to do it. Follow the 15-point plan.
I feel like this is a well-needed plug for Chad and Jalene's Star Award-winning, because I gave it an award, podcast, the 15-point plan, which is a model that I came up with to reduce my own stress and increase my own happiness and my own performance.
And you'll see a lot of these things on combating stress as we did our research on it, Ben, that you've already put onto the 15-point plan. So the first one, the easiest way to combat stress, and one of the ways I said I don't think I experience stress very much anymore, is exercise.
Yeah. Okay. Now, why is that?
Well, because of all the endorphins that are released into your body.
Yeah.
So how much should you exercise? Look, any exercise is better than no exercise. Work up to doing like 2.5 hours of moderate intense exercise, which would be brisk walks or swimming, jogging, playing in some team sport even.
Every week?
Weekly. 2.5 hours over a week would be.
I was already sweating when I thought you were going to say daily.
A day? No, my recommendation is it's 20 minutes a day of your average heart rate being 70% of maximum heart rate. So if you jumped over to the 15-point plan, I give you the whole calculation in our movement episode on how to figure that out. But Ben, if you have fitness goals that you can work towards, you're going to have the positive energy that comes with achieving a goal and working towards it that will help with the endorphin rush that comes and a goal achievement at the end of the line.
So let's say you had a really stressful day at work.
Yeah.
And you got home and you don't want to take it out on your honey bunny or your kids, right? Or your friends. You might get home and say, hey, do you want to go for a walk?
Correct.
Or, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. Or I'm going to do something for 15 minutes. Or
get on the Peloton. Or something. I'm going, park around the corner and just walk the opposite blocks in your neighborhood before you go home just to get that heart rate up and get some endorphins in you.
You know, I like to listen to things that make me laugh because making me laugh is one of the ways that I combat stress.
Yep.
So I will listen to comedy. I have it downloaded on my phone. It's ready for me to listen to. I love Judah Friedlander. He cracks me up. Super dry humor like us. But I'll listen to something, Chad, because it makes me laugh. And when I'm laughing, it's hard for me to have self-pity or to think about other things in my world because I'm laughing.
Yes.
Right? So our second way would be let's add a little bit of laughter to your life. By the way, that is one of the 15 points.
Absolutely.
But the third one, Chad, is
deep breathing.
Breathing?
No, not breathing.
Like,
breathing.
Not deep breathing.
No,
it's deep breathing.
Yes. And Ben, if anybody wants, if you missed this one, go back to episode 16 of Win May Give season 2 here. Bob and I had the chance, that Bob guy, to interview Dr. Phyllis Quinlan, and she was fantastic. And one of the things she talked to us about was what she calls 7-11 breathing. Okay, so that's take a breath in for 7 seconds.
It's hard to breathe and count.
And count. You count in your head for us, Ben. And then exhale for 11 seconds. So it's not the in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5. That's almost natural breathing. But in for 7 and out for 11 is going to force you to really empty your lungs and focus on them being able to take deep breaths in. That will release chemicals within your body as well and relax your muscles that are going along with stress.
Okay. Next one. Sleep.
Sleep
is one of these things because when you're stressed, some of us, we feel super tired.
Correct.
Or we can't sleep.
Yeah, your brain doesn't turn off from it.
And it happens to me because I've lived a stressful life on and off for my entire career.
Yep.
Here's one of the rules. No matter what time I fall asleep, get up at the same time.
Yes.
Because after a certain amount of days, you finally pass out.
Correct.
And and I'm a night owl. So sometimes I will stay up all night till 4, till 5. I'll still be emailing and texting and bothering all you guys. That's just me. I'm up all night.
Yep.
But after a certain amount of days, I'll pass out. Right. So if you are going to figure out your sleep, make sure you either go to bed or you get up at the same time, and it'll naturally work itself out over time.
Yes, your circadian rhythm will kick in, as the term would be.
Oh, there's another one point for the 15-point plan. Make time for hobbies, Chad.
Yeah, I could have just ripped off the 15-point plan here, but I didn't. I actually was doing research, Ben. You said, okay, Chad, find out what's out there. What's the world telling us about how to combat stress? You had already figured it out for the 15-point plan. It's fine, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes a day to spend on a hobby so that will help you relieve stress. So talk to us about hobbying and spending time on a hobby, Ben.
Well, you saw my newest little 15, 20-minute hobby after work.
Yes.
And he saw the Band-Aids on my hands to prove it. I went onto Amazon and I bought some wood carving tools.
Yes.
And I carved the coolest wizard everywhere that everybody calls a gnome, and it ticks me off. It's not a gnome, everybody. It's a wizard. It's something for me to do that forces me to focus, and I'm so focused on that, I can't think about anything else. It's almost like a form of meditation for me. Sometimes other hobbies might be, I'm looking forward to doing something in the future. I like to pick mushrooms, not the goofy high ones, but the ones you cook with. So I'll research about them, or I'll read about them, or I'll be thinking about that kind of stuff. It doesn't even have to be doing the hobby. Sometimes it's using our brain to think about the future.
And I love that you brought that up, because so many people on the 15-point plan have asked us, well, how do I do something every day? And it's, look, one of my hobbies is exercise. Some days, though, I'm actually just spending 10 or 15 minutes researching a race that's coming up, or researching new product gear that goes with it, because my brain will turn off completely while I get to do that, and it helps me relieve my stress going through all of that. So great that you brought that up on how to do that. Ben, the next one, just slow down. Call time out. Put a pause in the day. What are some of the ways that you or know of that people could do to just slow down in the middle of a day if they had to?
Chad, I only have one speed. Fast. Feel me. It's smooth.
Yeah.
What temperature am I? Cool.
There you go. I can't even look at him while he's saying it.
Oh, I drive these guys nuts. Here's how I slow down. In the morning, I'll read.
Okay.
The news or a book.
Yep.
In the middle of the day, I'll read the news or a book.
Yep.
Or I'll listen to music, or I'll read when I get home, or I'll take a walk.
Yes.
Right. Or sometimes
that's a big one for you.
Yeah.
You'll take, there are some trails near the office, trails near your house. You'll just often go for a walk, even if you have to have the meeting through the walk to relieve the stress, because maybe it's a stressful meeting you're even having.
I even have a device at home called a Muse, or a Muse 2. You ever
Is that
seen
the thing you put on your head when you sleep that's supposed to
Not
help?
when you sleep, but you put it on while you're sitting there, and it has an app, and your goal, it reads your brain waves, and your goal is to lower your brain waves so you aren't thinking about anything. So it has all these games, and it does things when you're thinking too much, and then it goes and does the right thing when you're not. So you play these games, and you train your brain to stop overthinking over time. Highly recommend it. Super fun. The Muse 2, it's a few $100, but it's worth every dollar. Meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, if you're cool and in an 80s Kung Fu movie, prayer, music. Reach out to me if you want one of my Spotify playlists. I'm pretty proud of the music I'm collecting. It shows how psychotic I am. Spending time in nature, doing those sort of things is definitely going to help. And lastly, Chad, talk about problems.
Yeah, talk about your problems, right? I mean, it's, how many commercials do we see on TV? Men with health, and they don't want to talk to anybody about it, right? If something's bothering you, talk about it. It'll reduce the stress. When you're having a tension with your partner, you say your honey bunny, right? Talk about it with them. When you're having a stress with a coworker, a boss, anybody it is, if you can just talk about it, you can let it out. You can probably air out what's really not something to worry about again. 85% of the time, it wasn't truly an issue. And 79% of the time left over, it's going to work out in your favor, or something easy to deal with.
It's why, like, finding these peers, these people that are going through similar things as you, and talking to them,
yes,
helps, because they say, you know what, I worried about the same thing, and here's the thing, it didn't matter.
Right.
It was an issue. I think people probably worry about being a parent when they first have a kid. Like, oh, I'm gonna injure the baby. They're
Right.
so fragile. And by the third kid, they're like, you know what? They'll figure it out if they're
Right.
climbing
Roll
down the
them
stairs.
around. Don't worry
Right?
about it.
They're
Yeah.
fine. Right? They're
They're
just
eating
picking
dirt.
up the food off the floor. You know,
Doesn't matter anymore. Think about one of the most successful organizations that's out there. And I'm not saying this in any way other than a blessing towards these organizations, but it's blank anonymous, right? I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous or Drug Anonymous programs. It's people coming together to talk about the problems or challenges which are bringing them stress in their life of overcoming and having to deal with it. So whether it's you've lost a spouse, whether it's there's probably a group out there for you to talk about it with.
yeah, for sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you're not stressed out and that just talking about stress today kind of put you into a mindset that I've been wasting my time and energy by stressing about things that don't matter. I'm starting to understand the physical and mental effects that having this excess stress in my life is causing.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a couple of tools that I could use. I'm going to go back, listen to the 15-point plan podcast, and I'm going to dive in and try to think about some of these things that you could do, like exercise, deep breathing, sleep, hobbies, slowing down, talking about our problems, because we're going to have a cool and easy life, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have low stress. If it doesn't, what was the old pin I got at the fair when I was a kid? Mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't
don't
matter, right?
Absolutely.
Chad, how do we end all these podcasts?
Well, folks, one, we hope you're not dealing with anything too serious and that this episode has helped you. If stress does continue at a high level, go get some professional help. Go see your doctor. If that's what it comes down to. Ben and I are just here sharing our opinions and the research that we have been able to find. Make sure you've joined us in our Facebook group. Why? Well, because we're going to be putting up t-shirts apparently in our Facebook group. Dave, I hope you've been taking notes on the t-shirts so we make sure we create the right ones. We're also going to share with you that Bob Newhart video Ben was talking about. Make sure you join us for the conversation that happens after each and every episode where we share the big takeaways in our community. That's facebook.com/groups/win, make, give. And until our next episode, as always, do good.